In a recent video, I tested out this Nikon Z52 plus the Nikon Z 180-600mm lens doing some bird and wildlife photography. Now, a lot of you that watched that video wanted to know specifically how this combo performed for birds in flight using the autofocus. In this video, I'll show you how the Nikon Z52 performs for birds in flight and share my thoughts while showing you samples in both stills and video. Welcome back to the channel, guys. If you haven't actually seen that video yet where I take this combo out to do some bird and wildlife photography, I'll leave it at the end of this video that you can check out a little bit later on. So the Nikon Z52 plus the Nikon Z 180-600mm lens, how does it perform for birds in flight? Well, during this week, I took this combo out to some of my favorite bird photography hotspots where I found a heap of birds in flight, as well as one of my absolute favorites, the Osprey. In my other video, I'd already ascertained the Nikon Z52 plus the Nikon Z 180-600mm lens did a great job in tracking birds with the dedicated bird AF activated, whether they were stationary sitting on branches or gently moving about gathering food. To begin with, I took the Nikon Z52 just outside my house to see what it was like for focusing on birds that were off in the distance. You'll notice when the birds can be seen clearly, like this crested pigeon on a neighbour's roof, the Z52 does a good job in tracking it. I can sense a little bit of a takeoff about to happen here, so I'm just getting ready for this bird to take flight, and then I fire away with the mechanical shutter at 11 frames per second. I took the Nikon Z52 to a regular spot I like to visit for bird photography. This is Shorncliffe in Queensland, Australia. Around the river mouth, as the tide goes out, you get a lot of bird activity, including larger birds like ospreys, Brahmini kites, and white-bellied sea eagles. Starting off, I thought I'd try tracking these seagulls that were flying around erratically. This test showed a bit of a mixed bag in results. When the seagulls were in the clear, the Z52 tracked them quite well. When you got a bit more of a busier background like this sandbank, the Z52 would briefly lose focus momentarily every now and again, but it did reacquire quite quickly. So one thing I haven't done with this Nikon Z52 yet is give it a really good burst rate. So I took aim at this Pelican that was coming into land on a sandbank. I was actually amazed how the Z52 just kept firing away right through this entire sequence. Just off topic here, I noticed aircraft were taking off and landing at the international airport across the bay. Here's an aircraft taking off. Now, it's interesting because the Z52 is still in dedicated bird AF mode here. And it was interesting to note how it latched onto one of its engines. I then tried the dedicated airplane focus mode, and you'll notice there's more of a rectangular box now over the entire aircraft as it takes off. This plane coming into land was a little bit of a mixed bag, but mind you, there is a lot of heat haze going on here. The focus did skip from the foreground a bit, but when the plane was in the clear, the focus did acquire well. It wasn't too long before my friend the Osprey made an appearance, but it was just that little bit too far away. So I gave chase to the top of a cliff and I was rewarded for my efforts. So I captured it here, gliding in the thermals, looking for its next meal. A Brahmini kite made an appearance, and so too a white-bellied sea eagle that was being chased by a crow. Here's a montage of birds in flight images I captured on the day with the Nikon Z52 and the Nikon Z 180-600mm lens. In my other Nikon Z52 bird and wildlife video, I did get asked in the comments what the quality was like when filming in full HD at 100 frames per second. So here's some sample clips slowed to 25 frames per second in post-edit, so you can judge for yourself. You know, the one thing that kept entering my mind when I was doing all those bird and flight shots was the incredible value for money that this little Nikon Z52 offers. It's not perfect. It's not in your caliber of your Sony A1s and your Canon R5s or your Z9s. And yet the results that I was able to achieve with this combo were still very, very impressive. Yes, you can actually do very good shots with birds in flight with this camera. But don't expect those amazing type of results that you get with the blistering fast speeds of the Sony A1, Canon R5s and your Z9s. Just keep that in mind. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, guys. I really appreciate it. Never stop creating. I'll see you next time.